Ladies and gentlemen, in the world of sports, there are some very historic rivalries. I'm talking about Yankees versus Red Sox. I'm talking Knicks, Boston Celtics. Other sports, like Real Madrid versus Barcelona, you name it, most sports have a very big rivalry. And chess is no different. In chess, one of the greatest rivalries is that of the BOTEZ sisters. Talking about Alexandra BOTEZ and Andrea BOTEZ of BOTEZ Live. And yesterday, April 29th, 2024, they were paired for the first time ever in a chess tournament against each other. A serious classical chess tournament against one another. And I'm going to break down the game for all of you. And whatever you think of chess influencers, or the BOTEZ sisters in particular, was a very instructive game, and there's a lot to learn. And this is a very intriguing matchup because they've never played each other, and they trash talk each other all the time. And they're very close in strength. So here we go. Also, I just got back from Europe. A little bit jet lagged. Also, my allergies are like ridiculous. So if I sound disgusting in this video, I sound disgusting in every video. But please excuse me. I was in Köln in Germany, and then I went to Brussels for 24 hours. Amazing city. Brussels was incredible. And if any of you took a picture with me on this trip, and then I went to Amsterdam for a few days, and I went to Den Haag, which was great. So those are the three cities I visited. I was only there for a week with my wife, and I'll be back. So many of you have been inviting me to European cities, where you live, and so on and so forth. And I think the next time I come back, I will do a proper tour. We'll do some live events, and I hope it'll be great. And I will be in Spain. I will be playing in a chess tournament in Spain and also doing the match there between Jose Martinez and Vladimir Kramnik. That will be in June. Let's get into this Derby Day, this Manchester United, Man City, this Chelsea versus Tottenham. Is that a rivalry? I don't know. Andrea BOTEZ with the white pieces opens up with pawn to d4. And that is because she only knows one opening. I'm not trying to insult her. If anything, this will motivate her to learn more openings. She literally only knows the London. So for all of you people out there who are like, I only know the London, like sometimes chess fans talk to me on the street and they say, I only play the London. So does she. Literally, she doesn't know any other opening. And Alexandra BOTEZ plays normally like the King's Indian, which is like they play the same openings. They are sisters. They play the exact same openings. But in this game, Alexandra goes for e6, which is a main line, and there are already certain things about this setup for white that matter if black does not play the move d5. Black has sort of played like a Nimzo-Indian type of setup, and if black plays b6 here, one of my favorite lines to play is queen f3. This is in my London course, and it's a little bit of a stupid move, but the point is that, you know, black then has to pin their own bishop, and they can't move it quite as easily, and then you very quickly castle, get an interesting position. But Alexandra plays d5. Now we're just in a mainline London. We're in something that has been studied many, many times, knight f3. Black, once again, has many setups. Black can play c5 now. Black can delay c5. Black can put the bishop on e7 or d6. And she plays c5 right away, which is the most principled move. Andrea plays c3, which is the most principled move. And the main line in London, you are taught c5, c3, c5, c3, knight c6, knight bd2, and now black has a choice. So the London has been studied and meta studied and giga mega studied and omega super giga studied and turbo studied. And, you know, black can take on d4 and play knight h5. That's a line. CD, ed, knight h5. Like this has been tried at the high level. Also, black can play bishop d6, which is the main line. Also, black can play bishop e7, which is kind of like a sneaky move, trying to get this bishop. Black can also play like a6, b, like black can waste time and just kind of pass back the move to white. Alexandra plays the main line, bishop to d6, just trying to trade bishops, and there's a rule of thumb, if black can successfully play e5 in the London, then black is completely fine. So if black can get this position, black is not worse at all. Which is why bishop d6 is played. And generally with white, what you do when you get hit with bishop d6 is you rotate back because you would like to be captured, because if you get captured and black castles, you will have some attacking potency in the position. That is the idea, right? So bishop g3, so far both players in their prep, castles, bishop to d3. This is the main line. This has been the main line of the London system for like 7 years now, this position. There have been other trends. Like I said, black can capture sooner, black can delay the move c5, but if black plays the main line, black plays the main line. And actually, white now has an option here to play a few different things. White can play bishop e2, bishop d3, and there is this move, bishop to b5, which has been played by none other than Grandmaster GothamChess, world championship contender for many years, and he plays a lot now as well, and he actually streams. And this move is kind of trappy. The best move here for black is to rotate the knight over here, but there's a trap, like, for example, queen c7 loses a pawn, because you walk into a pin, and now DC is just winning a pawn. I actually had this in an over-the-board game once, and I hung onto my pawn, and I went on to win. But that's sort of the idea, bishop to b5, but Andrea plays bishop d3, and Alexandra plays b6 after a few minutes of thought, which is, strange, because this position has happened many, many times. So black has three main lines here. b6, queen e7 to play e5, and rook e8 to play e5. So black can play two different moves that allow, prepare e5, and against those moves, white will frequently play knight to e5. And there's a trap here in certain lines where, if the knight drops back too quickly, you can land a really devastating attack. If black plays something like bishop d7, white will play f4 and go on another very big attack. So after bishop d3, Alexandra does in fact play this move b6, and now Andrea spends a lot of time. If that's right, I don't know why she spent 20 minutes on that move, but she spent 20 minutes on that move. The other move, if you don't play knight e5, the main move against b6 is immediately opening the attack on the center with e4. And if black doesn't know the theory here, black could get a very bad position very fast. The best move for black against e4 is so counterintuitive. Like, if you don't know the move here, you will never play it. The best move for black is to just get the bishop back to e7. What? Why would you allow e5? Well, e5, knight h5, and this bishop can't move. Bishop can't move there and there. And somehow it's very difficult for white to create an attack. The best move for white is knight g5, attacking the pawn and creating an attack here. Then you play queen h5, and then queen e2, and then the game continues. Like cd, h4, bishop d2 check. You lose a pawn, but then you get the pawn back and you try to play for h5. Like, it's very complicated line. Very, very complicated line. So the best line is to go back to e7. Because if you take on e4, after takes, this is hanging, and after it gets protected, white plays dc, bishop c5, queen a4 attacking this, and if black plays something like queen c8, you have bishop h7 check, king h7, you rotate the queen, you get a Greek gift, and you're winning. You gotta know all of that. If you don't know that, you'll never play e4. Like, that's because you're taught in the London, like, you have your pyramid, but there are moments e4 is good. For example, e4 is not particularly good, let's say, in this position, because after this exchange, this is not hanging. Black doesn't have to defend it. Black will take on d4. The point is that now, since that knight is hanging, you can go for this e4 idea. But Andrea plays knight e5, which is completely fine. Now the main line is bishop b7, and white plays f4, gets the Stonewall structure. This is the idea of the London system. And now, if you give white a few more turns with queen f3, for example, and then like bishop h4, white will generate a winning attack. This is a completely winning, completely dominating attack. Black is not fast enough on that side of the board. I mean, black can arrive, you take the knight, you threaten mate, the game is over. Like, white's attack is dominant. And this is why the London is one of the nicest openings to play if you know the ideas. That is sort of the point. You get the Stonewall structure. Alexandra did not play bishop b7. She played queen c7, which has been played. Here comes the Stonewall. And so now, I think, sibling rivalry, especially when you're the older sibling, you try to let the younger sibling win some of the wrestling matches, right? I don't think these two were, like, fighting, like, physically, but that's what you got to do. You got to let the younger sibling win every now and then. It's like a big dog and a little dog. All right. Like, the big dog sometimes rolls over because you gotta take turns. That's how you play. And so here, Alexandra kind of plays possum. She kind of like, she covers up. She's like, oh no, the attack is so strong. No. Now, what she should do, like, she can counterattack. All right. Like, she's not in any danger yet. It's completely fine. We're far away. Rotating this knight back is always a good idea because you can block this bishop as well. It's a hard move to play if, like, you don't study these positions like a nerd. So she takes on d4, which is not a bad move according to the computer, but strategically it's a small inaccuracy because it's okay. Like it's completely fine in my opinion, but you give white the E file, right? Like white used to have a pawn there. They don't now. So now the queen is very good there. And now black doesn't have a queenside attack. And, you know, sometimes black may want to have a queenside attack. Not now, but just in the future. So she takes this, and before Andrea can get anything going, she plays G6, which is the best move. The best move. Plays G6. And now she's sort of like, all right, come beat me. Like, I'm saying this, you can't have an attack. I mean, and knight e5, all of this is to have an attack. If I'm playing white, I'm thinking h4. It doesn't work because black goes here. You bring your queen out, all right? And then black just, you know, kicks your knight out. Like, where are you gonna go? You're gonna sacrifice? Maybe, but then where's the attack? This is blocked, everything is blocked. It's actually a very good strategy because now Andrea, as the younger sibling, has to play patiently. She can't play aggressive chess. She has to play it slow. She has to play queen f3. She has to play bishop h4. And maybe if you slowly improve your position, you're going to get something, right? Because black is going to try to trade. And if black makes a bad move, now you have queen h3. It's still not particularly clear where the attack is, but the attack will slowly arrive. You know, it's just going to very slowly, very, you know, slowly, methodically. And again, you see how Alexandra traded this pawn? She has nothing now. It's going to take her a long time to generate more play. And by the time she can, you rip open the position, you take on d7, you play bishop f6, and queen h8 mate is just unstoppable. So she got to play it slow, all right? Now, bishop f2, okay, fine. She's trying to get out of the way, and now she needs to bring the queen next. Alexandra plays a5. And a5 is trying to create something on the queen side because she doesn't have a c-pawn anymore. All right? She doesn't have a c-pawn, and she's trying to go bishop a6. Very common idea. So, for example, queen f3, black is considering bishop a6. And the thing about this position is it's actually okay to trade the bishop because at the end of the day, you have one very important resource in this position, which is this move a4, and black has no forward mobility on the queen side anymore. Black cannot play b5 or a4, and black doesn't have a c-pawn. Black can't play knight b4 or bishop b4. So white completely controls the queen side. Now if white rotates a knight to b5, like b1, a3, b5, you're going to go from having an attack to playing a little bit more of a positional game. But Andrea plays queen e2. Queen e2 stops bishop a6, but she didn't really have to. Like, she could have just played aggressively because she has all the makings of... In fact, the best move here, according to the engine, is just straight up g4, because after this, you can trade, and guess what? You can kick the rook back, maybe you even play h4. Like, h4, f5. You can't play h4 right now because probably h5 is quite strong, but that's the idea. So queen e2, now knight h5, a very nice move from Alexandra, who makes white play defense. This is not what white wants to do. White wanted all the pawns on the fourth rank moving together, and now Alexandra plays a very, very interesting idea. She wanted to play f6. But what she didn't want was this. She did not want that trade. So what she does is she actually plays knight back to b8. With the same concept. I've shown you this move, knight e7, and the idea is basically, now this knight cannot relieve itself. Pause. Like, I didn't mean like pee or poo. I meant like, you can't relieve the pressure and take on c6. So she plays knight b8, and now white really has a moment here where you gotta like think for a second and go, all right, so f6 is on the way, right? So what if I castle? Right? And then black is gonna go f6. Like, do I play knight f3? And then again, it's a big battle. For the big question is, can black play e5? If the answer is no, well, then white is gonna be okay. The other idea of knight to b8, by the way, was to play bishop a6. I just told you about this. She's really trying to trade off white's bishop, right? So knight b8, now a4 from Andrea. Controlling. Talked about that move already. So it's a pretty high-level game. I think up to this point, they were playing like 95, 96% accuracy, and now this move f6, and a very big moment. You can go back, you can go back, you can sacrifice the knight to open up black's king. You can also leave the knight, but leaving the knight is dumb because you're only going to get one pawn. So you just lost the knight for a pawn. You don't really have anything. And Andrea here decides, you know what? I've had enough of being the younger sibling. I'm going to sacrifice my knight and attack Alexandra. Knight takes g6. And when you sacrifice a knight, you can apply general principles or you can apply specific principles. General principles are you should not sacrifice a piece like this unless you have 2 more attacking pieces than they have defenders. Does white have 2 more attacking pieces than they have defenders? No. However, there are exceptions. You know, for example, if you play queen g4 now and queen h4, queen h7, yeah, that looks pretty good. But then maybe black plays e5. Queen h4 is mate. They move the knight, you know, etc., etc. You got to keep calculating. And it's a close game. It's close. So she sacrifices the knight, right? She plays bishop g6. The engine is calling it what it is. It's like, well, you know, black is up a pawn, so it's -1. Black plays knight g7. And so now white needs to figure out how to get more of an attack going because black is going to start opening the center. The best way to strike back over here on a flank attack is to strike back in the center of the board. And I talked about general principles. I use this rule of +2, the general principles. Specifically, when you talk about specifics, you need moves. Like when you calculate in chess, when players sit back here and they go, knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, attacking the knight's going to go there. Okay, in that position, I need to find the best move for white. Is it bringing my queen or is it bringing my pawn? And the best move is to bring the queen. You need the queen to hang out for a constant threat. This is incorrect. This is too slow. I mean, in theory, it looks very nice. And black has a limited amount of time, right? And one thing I've been doing recently is I've been turning off the eval bar because you don't know what the evaluation is during a game, right? So one move that black can already consider is striking back in the center with e5. It's a very thematic move. And if the center opens up, black is going to be really close to ruining the white position. White is just not going to land the attack in time. Alexandra brings the knight back to c6, which makes sense. She's trying to target the center, and she's trying to trade white's only attacking piece on g6. Andrea plays h5, right? Spends a little bit of time, plays h5. And, you know, she's only attacking with a bishop and a pawn. Just inherently, something should feel a little bit off. Just a little bit. Like, and black should be able to defend herself. And now Alexandra, while being attacked on the edge of the board, she does in fact strike back with this move e5. And now white needs to be very careful. The right way of going all in here with white is to take on e5 once. It's very important you don't take with the f-pawn, because then everything falls apart. You have to take with the d-pawn, and then what you do is you have to castle. Why like this? Because the f-file is closed and the diagonal is closed. And the f-file is still closed and the diagonal is still closed. And the point is, now you bring your rook, right? You bring your rook, and now you actually have a claim to an attack. You get your king out of the way, and you bring your rook. That is the way that white had to just bite the bullet, just castle queenside, open the position, and do it that way. Now, she went h6, which is a completely reasonable move, but now she needs to do it again. She has to go takes, long castle. Because after takes, you just open everything up. Like, I don't even care about knight f4, all right? Although, I'm trying to think. Do you lose your bishop completely here? I was hoping I had some trick, but maybe you just lose your bishop. All right, I do care about knight f4. So we don't take this pawn, we do something else, like bring back the queen or play g4, g5. I mean, black is going to defend themselves with best play. The sacrifice on g6 was flawed for several reasons, but that's life. I mean, that's what happens. So queen g4 is what Andrea chooses. She's threatening all sorts of different things, and Alexandra just very calmly moves the king to h8. And now, I mean, the amount of money white would spend to get rid of the h-pawn. Your own pawn blocks your attack, and there's just nothing you can do about it. I like this move f5, but knight g5 gets in the way. Black has too many defensive pieces. I said you need 2 more attacking pieces than black has defenders. This is still the only attacking piece. The queen cannot get in. You could go h7, it doesn't do anything, because I'm not going to take, right? I'm not going to take. So knight g5, and now, yeah, it goes from bad to worse. Here, Andrea castles, and once you start castling in this position, it's a bad sign. Also, you have 2 minutes on the clock. Black plays knight e7. This is going to be traded off. You will have 0 attacking pieces remaining. You cannot even take So she takes on e5, bishop e5, and that's it. I mean, this is all you got. This is all you got to show for the sacrifice. Queen e2. There comes the bishop. White is officially completely out of attacking pieces, and the older sibling will be taking over the game. King goes to g2. The pawn falls in front of the king, and only one king is unsafe here, and it is not the BOTEZ king. Ha! It's funny because they're both BOTEZs. Bishop takes b6 is a desperation attempt trying to get queen b6, rook f5, which is still winning for black, but black plays knight to h4 check. The king goes here, and now black is up a bishop and a knight. Now, if you could teleport your queen to g7, it is made, but that is not possible. White plays queen d3, attacking the bishop. Bishop e5. Also, very nice time management from Alexandra. Up 27 minutes, that'll do it. So if it was 1 minute for black and 27 for white, maybe there's still a blunder possible. Rook d8. And the easiest thing to do here by far, simplify, put the rook on the second rank. Rook to h2 is a checkmate and 2 threat. King g3, knight h3 mate. And in this position, Andrea resigned. And the older sibling, Alexandra BOTEZ, reigns supreme, defeating the pesky London system. The best way to defeat the pesky London system, which is play a main line, play like, 9 to 10 moves, implement the game plan. And the thing is, the London is easy, but if you don't know the cutting edge ideas, like e4, for example, you can very easily play all the right ideas, but not take the right step at the right moment, not capitalize on based on the way your opponent is playing, and then you'll find yourself in a difficult situation. Now, Andrea didn't really do that. She actually played completely fine. She played f4, she put all the... And this is an incorrect idea as far as I'm concerned for black. Like, I would love to see that in one of my games. But Alexandra just played very solid. She just said, you know what, I'm just not going to let you attack me. And then white was kind of stuck between, do I attack or do I play solidly? This was a very nice idea, and Andrea got aggressive at the right moment. The wrong moment. She did not get aggressive at the right moment, is what I was trying to say. She got aggressive, but after playing a series of relatively passive moves. And had she been more active, then the sacrifice would have been justified. For example, if the position was something like this. Now, this is a fantastic sacrifice. Look, it's +3. Take, because you cannot go knight g7 because of queen h7 mate, so it all depends. And it was a very nice defensive effort. Maybe Andrea had a little bit of a chance to complicate things if she castled queenside. She didn't see it. She was probably pretty pessimistic about her position, and Alexandra wins. Nice defensive game. Be very careful when you sacrifice your pieces, and when you play your openings and you're getting to this 2000 level, a lot of you ask me, like, how do I move from intermediate to advanced? How do I move from advanced to mastery? Well, you got to get your London down, and then in this position, you should still be able to write a thesis statement on the opening. The same way I explained to you, well, there's bishop b5, there's bishop d3, there's bishop b7, there's this blah, 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 blah. This is what you have to do. Like, you have to know all the different paths an opening can take, even on move 10. This is chess, and like, these two are quite a bit stronger than like the prototype nowadays London player who's probably like 1200, right, and is looking at this like, I never even get this position. So, an interesting battle. The lifetime record is now 1-0, Alexandra versus Andrea, and we will see if they get paired in the tournament again. I hope you enjoyed this game breakdown. I don't do a lot of these, but these two are two of the biggest chess influencers on the planet, so I figured I would, and it was an interesting battle. And I will see you in the next video. Get out of here.